Hello everyone, Lead Rain has arrived, and it's time to talk about something important. Recently, in a map of the game world, S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 Heart of Chernobyl has appeared on the internet. Of course, not all game locations are represented here. Nevertheless, we can already draw certain conclusions. Besides, the seam in the bag cannot be hidden, and information about changes in geography has been leaking out for a long time. Let's take a closer look. The testing ground is now practically under the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, and all these locations that were between the testing ground and the Chernobyl nuclear power plant have disappeared somewhere. Apparently, they have also moved. And it turns out that all this time, bandits and all sorts of scum were just hanging out near the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. While the merchant from Kordon, Sidorovich, and the barman from the bar 100 Roentgen were trying to understand what's up north. Far up north, some mysterious sigh sound won't let me in yet. Speaking of which, in S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2, in addition to the Brain Destroyer, there will now be a real air raid, and somewhere on the outskirts of the game zone, although in fact, the Ark is just south of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. If, say, this is the cordon, then the real radar is where it is in contact, and there was no need to move it anywhere. But apparently the game zone in S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 is some kind of place. Large swamps. These are just swamps with a clear sky. Now, not to the left of the cordon, but to the right. The concrete plant, Yanov and Jupiter, located in Call of Pripyat in the same location, are now scattered, and between them is a red forest and a dump. It's a pity that this map is not marked with the word background and laboratory. However, we need to leave some surprises for the release, but it is marked with a toad. Well, that's it. Once in the S.T.A.L.K.E.R Oblivion Lost mod, there was a toad on the border, but then they made another character instead, Sidorovich. Now it turns out that Sidorovich is a toad. Well, okay, let's say his hand grew. This is the zone, bro. Now try to follow the route of the main characters of the original trilogy in this geography. Spoiler, you won't be able to. No, of course, maybe a miracle will happen at the release and everything will be explained. Who knows? But for now, what do we have? In Shadow of Chernobyl, geography played a decisive role. The entire game was dedicated to exploring the mysterious zone. Yes, since the Oblivion Lost mod, this mystery has become very confusing. However, Machina is moving north into increasingly dangerous territory. There is something somewhere that prevents stalkers from going north. So the traders are conducting their own investigation, including the one that is sent to different labs. And they find out that it turns out that there is a brain burner on the radar, which is also man-made and can be turned off. And the question arises, where is the brain burner? The bar from the 100 Roentgen bar has shifted to the left, and there is no brain burner here at all. It was moved from the space between the test site and the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. That is, the brain burner does not prevent you from going north. Its plot role is violated, and the plot of the Shadow of Chernobyl is simply broken. Then comes the prologue, Clear Sky. Yes, the swamp is now on the right. Yes, Limansk is incomprehensible where. But the plot of the word Pripyat has also died a long time ago. At least Jupiter and Pripyat are still nearby. Well, because in reality too. And there is no Zatan. In general, the essence of the Call of Pripyat is that after turning off the brain burner, new territories have opened up. Zatan, according to the plot, is a distant territory near Pripyat, which means somewhere near the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. It was on Zatan that the SCAT helicopters that were flying to the center of the zone fell. Therefore, the movement of Zatan together with the helicopters breaks the plot of Call of Pripyat. In addition, our hero also jumps between different sublocations of Zatan and Jupiter. These sublocations are copied from real places of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant and conditionally collected together. And since the geography in the new game is even stronger, oriented towards the real Chernobyl exclusion zone, it is obvious that the map is scattered not only with the cement plant in Yanov, and it turns out that the radio components for nitrogen were collected somewhere near the dump. That is, in the original, nitrogen is like, well, S.T.A.L.K.E.R, be a man, look at the plant, it's nearby. S.T.A.L.K.E.R leaves Yanov, and the plant is somewhere in the south, near the dump. Damn, not funny. Well, what else is there under the location and where they moved? We will find out on the release. A good approach, really, considering where the bandits' checkpoint is in the game Call of Pripyat and where it is in real life. Yes, it is not surprising that Vano was late in returning the debt. After all, he had to go here with Yanov. It will probably turn out that Degtyarev, during the course of the Call of Pripyat plot, wrote out an 8 throughout the zone, and more than deserved the rank of lieutenant colonel. So what does this mean? The new S.T.A.L.K.E.R. 2 completely breaks the canonical plot and lore of the original trilogy. Then I'm just shocked by this fiasco, that the plot of all the games now simply does not work and there's no logic in this. But then I pulled myself together. The thing is, there is another interesting question. Is there such a thing as canon and lore in S.T.A.L.K.E.R? There is no common canon in S.T.A.L.K.E.R. And even more so, there is no lore in a full sense. And it's not that I'm trying to somehow humiliate our beloved universe, God forbid, no. It's just that this was the approach of all the developers who worked on the games. The plot of the 3 games does not stick together, including the geography, which does not correspond to the riddles that would have to be dealt with by the archer, the ghost, and the bell, to have time to learn and leave each of the messages. And now tell me how many players thought about it. Well, someone, yes, thought about it, but there are very few such people. That is, the authors did not worry much about the general canon and did not guess, because the plot in the talker, of course, is important, but not that much. S.T.A.L.K.E.R. plays, after all, not for the sake of a strong, well-written main plot. It is such jokes with the messages of the S.T.A.L.K.E.R. group that I mean by saying that there is no S.T.A.L.K.E.R., no canon, no lore. Instead of the philosophy of common lore, the developers approached it differently, took the main elements, and made every new game the way they wanted. It's just that, fortunately for us, there have never been so many cardinal problems between games before, and we could all just close our eyes to the plot holes. Here are the dates of the second explosion, and here is an important date, by the way, like the basis of the lore, if there was one. But the dates are different. Well, okay, let's forget about it, no big deal. The properties of the artifacts. In the prequel, they are one, in Shadow of Chernobyl, they are different, and in Call of Pripyat, according to the chronology, the properties are different again. Well, it's a game convention, correct me, and so on. But in the case of S.T.A.L.K.E.R. 2, you can't close your eyes to this. S.T.A.L.K.E.R. canon is, an oasis where we can put some big concepts. There is a zone, there are groups, laboratories, and mutants. If we put more specific and small things into our oasis of the canon, they will fall through the holes. And there is a logical explanation for such a situation. How did this happen? Look, the first game in the process of creation was rewritten many times. In the end, the authors were given the task to finally release this game and not torture the publisher. As a result, even in the release here and there, some outdated materials, some sticking tails, well, what the hell with them? We will also take them for granted. I just urge you not to close your eyes to these problems, but to accept them as they are and understand the reasons why games are the way they are. And don't try to sew it all together by going for the invention of some fan lore, but a lot of people do. Lead Rain was with you. Goodbye, everyone.